So there are people out there, probably I would say maybe the SJW type, who are upset because the film Guardians of the Galaxy 3 featured animal cruelty. I would say that I am surprised, but then again, though, we are living in bizarro land. Let me explain. Let me go ahead and tell you how this video is going to go. I'm going to be explaining this little bit that I caught in an article and some of these tweets, which I'm putting up right now. Also, I'm going to be putting this little thing up here. Thank you guys for sticking with me. I'll have a bigger video out on that, especially as far as the direction of the channel is going, but I'm going to wait till Mother's Day to do so. As far as like scheduling, that type of stuff there. Now let's go ahead and finish outlining this video. So we're going to talk about this a little bit, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the character of Rocket Raccoon himself, and then to go on top of this, I just want to go ahead and say this. I think a lot of these people who are upset, a lot of these people who are screaming animal cruelty, it's possible that they could have been doing it to troll, or it's very possible that they may not have watched the first two films and maybe gotten I don't know, maybe looked into the fact that maybe Rocket was a bit of a jerk, and maybe there was a bit of an underlying reason why that is the case. Now, guys, I have already done a video giving you guys my thoughts on the film itself. I'll just say that I felt it was a very good story, but I did think that the film was edited quite poorly. However, let's go ahead and get into this. I don't know, and I know I've already said this once, but I'm going to say this again. I get this sense that a lot of people who were upset and a lot of people who were offended by quote unquote animal cruelty don't seem to realize that these characters are not real. They are fantasy. I mean, I don't know of a talking raccoon walking around. I mean, it's a movie. I mean, it's kind of designed, and I understand that the movie is PG-13 and everything, but I don't understand the outrage here. You got people screaming and hollering about animal cruelty, but I gotta ask you guys a question. Was The Lion King animal cruelty, seeing how it was that Mufasa died? I'm just curious. I mean, there's a lot of movies out there that a lot of these people actually love that feature animals getting killed, but yet here we are talking about animal cruelty in a Marvel film, which, by the way, was designed to be a little bit darker and a little bit bleaker. And I think a lot of people kind of already knew that going in. The only people I can kind of think of that may not have known this going in were people who were brand new to the franchise itself. I'm kind of wondering where these people came from. Did they not watch any of Phase 2 or Phase 3? Had they not watched any DC films? Have they not watched any dark and gritty films before? It just makes me kind of wonder what's actually going on here. Now, guys, I am displaying some clips from various Guardians of the Galaxy movies hinging on Rocket himself, but the one clip that typically tends to get me the most with his character is this one here.
Well, I didn't ask to get made. I didn't ask to be torn apart and put back together over and over and turned into some little...
Ripped apart, put back together. I'm also showing you guys some more stuff. Some of these are scenes from part 3. The whole premise of this film was to explore how it was that he came into creation. He was obviously a very scared little creature. He was pulled in. The villain would take him in. They would experiment on him, and they did all this stuff to him. And he formed a bond with 3 other little creatures that were also being experimented on as well. One of those creatures, of course, was killed, and Rocket, of course, his inclination, of course, was to attack the High Evolutionary, which, by the way, I probably would have too, because, let's be honest, even though that's not real life, if somebody hurts something that you have made an actual bond with, or maybe if they've hurt a family member, or possibly a friend, you're probably going to be a little bit upset, and you're probably going to want some form of revenge, whether it be beating that person down or whatever. That is complete. I think that was the major component of the story, was to try to show you exactly how much he had suffered. I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, now if you didn't already see it, Rocket doesn't exactly spend a whole lot of time in this film talking, as far as like his character as in not being inside of a coma, which, by the way, he was for the vast majority of the film. The fact of the matter is that this film here was designed to be dark, and it was designed to be a little bit bleak, but at the same time, like I said before, I would be surprised that people are screaming and hollering animal cruelty and that they might be a little bit upset about that. But I also think there's another scene that kind of encapsulates this to kind of help explain Rocket as a character. I'm going to play this and then come back on the other side and kind of double down once again on why it is that I think that these people who are upset, screaming and hollering, don't seem to understand the hidden context, the hidden subtext behind what they were going for.
They exiled me. This is what I deserve.
Slow down, drama queen. You might deserve this, but I don't. We gotta get out of here.
Where's Quill?
Went off with his old man.
Ego?
Yeah. It's a day for dumbass names. You smiled. And for a second, I got a warm feeling. But then it was ruined by those disgusting-ass teeth.
You're like a professional asshole or what?
Pretty much.
Well, that right there was from the Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Yes, it was from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 because it was Yondu who basically had a nice, let's just say he had a nice segment in that film with Rocket. As a matter of fact, Guardians 2 has always been viewed to be one of the weakest films in the MCU. I personally loved Guardians 2, mostly due to the fact that they did spend some time talking and there was some actual honest-to-God character development there. You see, it was Yondu who broke through to him and kind of said, look, man, I guess he's a bit of a professional a-hole. And, of course, if you remember, in that particular film, Rocket was, in fact, a jerk to Quill. It was a jerk to everyone in really almost completely unnecessary circumstances. The idea was to try to explain to the audience why it was that Rocket Raccoon had a personality like this and why he was the way he was. I mean, dude, the little thing had been picked up, torn apart, put back together. I mean, you kind of see that you see something very important, that he actually kind of figured out the one missing thing that the High Evolutionary needed to make these great creatures that he was trying to make. And by the way, there was actually an extremely good message at the end of the film. Like I said, I may have not liked this film because of its editing, but to me, I did actually like the ending. I'm one of the few people out there who's actually praised the ending and the whole ending sequence, except for the scene with Quill being rescued by Adam Warlock, which, by the way, I think Adam Warlock's character completely suffered from that, but we may revisit that topic at a later date. And with that, sometimes in movies, you have to be a little bit raw and a little bit gory. You know, I actually thought it wasn't gory at all for a PG-13 film. It's, as I've said before, my only problem with the movie itself was just the editing. I thought the story was great. But then again, though, some of us may have stronger stomachs than others. But then again, though, some of us also, you know, have this thing for PETA, which, very, very interesting, cares a lot more about animals than actual people. It's a very weird thing. People out there saying, oh, I care more about the animals than I do people. I mean, it's very, very weird how these... I never understood veganism. I know I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I've never really understood it. But look, I'm getting too far off topic. Look, I understand you might not have liked the animal cruelty or whatnot, even though these characters aren't even real, they're fake. And, you know, I mean, it just makes you wonder what's going to happen to these people in the real world if something does, in fact, happen. I don't know, SHTF, you know, I got to kind of keep it clean here because of the YouTube censorship and all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is this here, and I really and truly just kind of wonder, I mean, have these people, like, did they not even try to watch the movie? They, like, just like, try not to understand what was going on here? Did they not also try to understand the High Evolutionary and what his motives were and how it was that Rocket was integral to that? And, of course, the fact that Rocket, you know, figured out what the High Evolutionary needed to do to actually make it better, make it easier for them. And of course, the High Evolutionary would eventually practically, you know, he'd kind of like whack everybody in the joint because that's the type of villain that he was. He was very evil. And because Rocket figured it out, the High Evolutionary got upset and began to torture and kill his friends. Rocket had a lot of emotional baggage. That was kind of the reason why he was the way he was in Guardians 1 and Guardians 2. So to all the people crying about animal cruelty, I highly advise you go back and watch Guardians 1 and Guardians 2. If you want to read the comics, I would advise you do so as well if you've actually got the time to do that. I read comics when I was a kid. I don't have as much time as you probably think that I should, especially given the fact that we're going to be doing a lot more pop culture takes, and eventually I'm going to create character study and character analysis channel somewhere, and Marvel, DC is probably going to be a part of that because obviously we need to explain why things are the way they are. Not to mention everything typically tends to turn into some form of social commentary, but the fact of the matter is that the filmmakers, and like I said, regardless of what you think of the film, they were trying to convey over to the audience that this is the reason why Rocket is the way he is and the way he has always been. Now going forward, Will he have a bit of a redemptive arc? We don't know. This right here may have even been the last one. I have no idea if they plan on making a fourth one with the same characters or anything at a later date. I mean, they kind of left it open with the very end of the film that it was possible, but then again, at the same time, seeing how this Mary was definitely the weakest of the three, but yet the best Marvel film of the rest of the trash Marvel films that have been coming out since 2020, post Avengers Endgame, not counting Spider-Man No Way Home, which I thought was mostly a fan service film. Yeah, I think the audience, I think they were going for explain to the audience what the hell the problem is. Fact of the matter, or not really the problem, but what it was that caused him to be the way he is. Now, there was another little underlying message that I think was in that film that, quite frankly, I think that a lot of people need to understand, because you can also learn some very, very good things in stories and film itself, which, by the way, we're going to be doing more of here in the future. There was this nice little scene where Rocket was confronted with the High Evolutionary right there at the end. Or actually, he confronted the High Evolutionary. And Rocket, basically, after the High Evolutionary gives this whole speech about me trying to build a completely better world and a completely better population, basically a utopia or whatnot. And Rocket basically said, that's not what you were looking to do. You just hated things the way they were. You just hated things the way they had been. Almost a pretty good lesson there, that you can't create the perfect society. I know I kind of went a little bit philosophical there, but I mean, it is what it is. Guys, John Claymore here. If you like this content, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comment section, and I'll see you guys later.